my name is Tara. I'm an Iranian British American photographer and cinematographer, and I'm based in Los Angeles. When I was in college, I started making my own short films, which I was directing and shooting while I was studying photography, and I just started to realize that photography wasn't the only thing I wanted to do. I wanted to tell stories in a bigger way in moving image, so I made the transition into cinematography. In my photography, I tend to photograph subjects who are not male, who are often female or non-binary, and that's it. That representation is important to me. In my cinematography, it's sort of different than my photography because I'm working with directors and other storytellers, and I've made it sort of a mission of mine in terms of the work that I take on, that I want to work with filmmakers who are marginalized and or telling marginalized stories, be it, female filmmakers, trans filmmakers, non-binary filmmakers, people of color, etc. And I think it's really important to support those filmmakers and to tell those stories. They're stories that need to be told and need to be seen. And I want to be a part of that work as their cinematographer. So I've been sort of making that as a choice when it comes to the scripts I read and the projects I choose, who I want to work with, what stories do I want to be a part of telling. I think for anyone who's a part of any sort of marginalized group, often you kind of have to prove yourself 200%. So it's sort of just about working hard and exuding confidence and breaking through the struggles that you face, and having to work harder than your counterparts, say, cisgender, white, straight males in the industry. And then it's also a matter of choosing the people that I work with. And so establishing relationships with people that I connect with who respect me and I respect them. I will say, pursue your dreams, fight for what you believe in. It won't be easy to get your foot in the door, but things are changing, I think, for the better, which is really exciting. Finally, female cinematographers are getting the recognition and the jobs that they deserve, women in directing, etc. And so I think, things are taking a positive turn and people want to hire women, so that's awesome. But also, what I'll say is don't be afraid to speak up and fight for what you believe in. So, if men are condescending or trying to pressure you into something or make you question your worth or your skill set, don't allow that. I'm very lucky to have gone to film school. I'm very privileged and grateful that I had that opportunity. I think for me as a cinematographer, it felt important to learn the technical aspects of my craft and gain more hands-on experience because I went to a conservatory that was very hands-on. I think that also the environment of a school is very supportive, in terms of you growing in your field and having the support of your teachers and stuff, which you may not get in the industry when you're under stress and there's money involved. It feels good to be able to experiment, mess up, and learn within this supportive environment. I think that I could have pursued cinematography without going to film school, but it would have been a harder and longer road. Probably I would have had to go through working as a crew member and work my way up, and it would take longer to get to do what I actually wanted to do, and it would just be harder. But I do think it's possible to not go to film school, and I've seen people succeed without having studied film and just sort of self-educating and working. So I think that everyone should make their own choice and take their own path when it comes to education. Well, one thing I will say, as funny as this sounds, if you don't go to film school, it can actually be beneficial to work with film students. So for example, there are a bunch of people who crewed from outside of our film school on our projects, and they gained experience and like moved up the ladder. So for example, a PA, a production assistant, moved up to eventually become a first AD and now works as an assistant director on films. And so you're working with people, you know, who are learning their craft and growing with them in this supportive environment. And then they also often take you along with them when they get out of school and hire you on their productions. So working with film students can be really good. Outside of that, what can help is putting yourself out there. So attending like film events, art events, you know, and talking to people when they say they're in film, discussing your interest and sort of putting yourself out there. Also, you can join their Facebook groups for film, say in Los Angeles, and people post people that they need. And especially if you're inexperienced, there are sometimes productions that are, you know, no budget or they take volunteers, and so they'll allow you to come on even if you don't have experience or much experience. What people are really looking for in a crew member when they hire someone, whether they're paying them or it's a volunteer effort, is drive and focus, a positive attitude, and being organized. So if you can show that, then, you know, they'll want to give you more work and help you grow. And lastly, I'll say that if you have the ability to, sometimes doing an internship can be good if it's with someone who's experienced and who will educate you, and especially who will then employ you if you then gain the skills to be a member of their team. So I think community is really important. I mean, for everyone, but especially in the arts, because it's a hard field to get into, to work in, and we struggle on our own with our self-doubt and insecurities, so it's important to have each other and support each other. My first sense of community in the arts came from the internet. When I was in high school, I had a Flickr account. I made friends on there. We supported each other, shared each other's work, you know, gave each other advice. And that was super important for me, both for my confidence, for growing, getting inspired, and having other like peers, you know, around me. So I think that whether it's through social media or establishing it through in-person, creating community can be important, whatever that means to you. So it might be a specific community, it might be, you know, female filmmakers, it might be queer artists, whatever you want to have, but finding those other like-minded souls is really important. And I think what we can do is just like support each other. So whether it's financially supporting each other, like buying your friend's art when you can, or even sharing that they're selling their art and like telling your friends, showing up to their events, you know, showing up for each other, and then also recommending them for jobs. So if these are people that you trust who would have your back and who've helped you, you should help them back. So if you hear like someone is in need of someone who does whatever you do, whether it's film, art, etc., and you think, hey, well, my friend might want to do that and deserves that job, recommend them, you know, because that they get work that way, and it's important for us to like help each other. The world is a hard place and we often feel very alone, so we've got to support one another. Well, I think being a freelancer is tricky because you don't have work all the time, to be honest. And it's easy to sort of get down or feel like you're not doing enough. Social media sometimes can be harmful in this way because you might follow people and see all the things they're doing, which sometimes are even like a flashback to something they did in the past and not even like at that moment. But so sometimes it can make you feel like, oh my gosh, why don't I have a job all the time? Why am I not always working? And so I think it's important in between those freelance gigs to express yourself creatively on your own. So for me, for example, in between film jobs, I'll be doing my own personal photography, or, you know, also keeping myself inspired. So watching films, looking at art, educating myself. Like I use that time to learn and to create on my own. And that's important. It is important to also take time to take care of yourself. And it can be hard to do that when you're super busy. So I think seeing downtime as a positive time to, you know, take care of yourself mentally, physically, etc. is really important.